Fellas, y'all know what we're here for today, man. We're here to have an open discussion. We have heard a lot from Kanye West lately. Some people agree with him, some people disagree with him.
With Kanye, I feel like what he said about free thought, I agree to a certain extent. Like, you know, I believe slavery happened, but the thing about free thought, you know, it's a mentality.
In reality, to a certain degree, I feel like you have to have a mindset to push forward no matter what you're doing, right? So if you want to be educated, you want to break the stigma of, you know, being the first person in your family to get to a spot, you know, higher level of education, you know, you have to have a mindset in yourself from within.
Well, does anybody agree with the narrative that Kanye put out? Does anybody agree with him that it was a choice?
Absolutely not.
You don't mean
this was a choice.
It depends on how you look at it. In my opinion, it depends on how you look at it. Because you can say that you agree with him, but to what degree?
He has some truth in the entire interview.
Consequence. Yeah, there's an extreme consequence in saying that, oh yeah, it's optional, but my option is either death or living. You know, he wasn't saying that it was optional and I'm gonna be free or I can be in bondage. He was saying, yeah, it was optional. You could have died or you could have chose to be in bondage. And it depends on the individual to say, well, which one was better? You know, was it better for me to die and my whole lineage, you know, die with me? Or was it better for me to go ahead and be in bondage and kind of look into the future and say, well, maybe if I go through this, my kids' will come out and I'm here.
All the individuals got off those boats, man. Talking about countless men and women, children. Only two I know of in history have made the decision to try to, like, you know, free of bondage. That's Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman. You know,
Freddie Douglass as well.
Yeah, Freddie Douglass as well. I mean,
you have a lot of people that the Tucson.
But it was like only a handful who guys have actually tried to get out and try to make a difference.
You know what? We've been lied to so much, man. We really don't even know if it was only a handful or if this was happening every day. It could have been rebellious every day that they just didn't tell us about for fear of, oh, if we tell them that this was happening every day, then they'll know that they actually did fight back, as opposed to pushing this narrative that we just laid down and put our hands up. You know, if these handful of people did it, you gotta think that it's possible that more than them did it. It's just not talked about.
How many people seen Black Panther? Okay, who remember the line in the end with Killmonger saying, I'd rather be thrown in the sea with my ancestors than to live in captivity? How many people agree with that? Because I seen that pop up on my timeline over and over and over again. It was catching momentum. Man, did you see that? It was powerful. Earlier, it was described as powerful. That's the same thing that Kanye's saying. Those people made a choice, and when it was said at the end of that movie, right? When it was said at the end of that movie, it highlighted everything that we wanted to see black people cast in the high status position. And you end with a narrative like that, then I would rather die than to live in captivity. He made a choice.
We presuppose that people are all born on the same base. Everybody's not born on first base. Some people aren't even born in the ballpark. And so you've gotta be able to break it down. And it's like being a parent. You can only parent to the extent that you've been parented unless you go out and do more and you recognize. But if you think, you know, slapping your kid in the store and cursing them out and treating them like, you know, like they're just, your same age because it was done to you and your grandmother did it to your mother, that's all. That's your frame of reference. So I look at, you know, people in the time of slavery. I mean, when Kanye said it was a choice, well, you know, a choice. What really is a choice? If you were born into slavery, and you can't even imagine what a choice is if that's all you know. Yeah. Now, of course, there were people out there that would come around and say, okay, look, we're going to revolt, or we're going, you know, Harriet Tubman, let's jump on this and go. But if you didn't really know Harriet Tubman, you didn't know whether she was going to just take you to the next, you know, to the next plantation. I deal with women, you know, down at the courthouse. I used to deal when I was in practicing criminal law, who got beat up last night, gonna get beat up tomorrow, got beat up 2 weeks ago, and they didn't feel like they had a choice. I mean, these are grown people. And if all you know is this construct of that's your normal, well, you know, you got to redefine normal for some people.
That was actually my concern is when you think about back then, they were brought into a place that they knew nothing about. So where is the next place we're going? Who is there? Who are we coming in contact with? Will they just kill us when we get there? It's hard to know. Like, what, you don't have any information to know what is the next step. So it's hard to say, like you said, I think choice is the wrong word. Do I agree with some of the things that he said and why he said it, and does it make sense? Yes. But when you really think about it, like, what if someone came in right now from Europe and said, hey, we wanna just rack up all the women and children, all the black women and children? What would you guys do in this room? And then what would the black men do in the hood? Like, you don't know, right? And so it's hard for me to kind of just say I agree 100% or I disagree 100% because of that. We don't know what they thought, and they were in a completely different place.
Right,
like when you're in the United States and you move to a different state, you don't know. It's a whole different country, culture, language. Like, it's all different. So how can we say what they could have done and not done?
What I think a lot of people missed was what he did the week before. Obviously, the whole Trump thing. He was going through a few days of some very bad perception, and then for you to come and say, okay, we're going to tie this in with the slavery talk. Mm-hmm. It was incongruent for a lot of people. I mean, for you to go out and pub up Donald Trump when only 2.5 years ago you said, well, I don't vote. I mean, it's not people saying stick to rap music. Well, don't tell kids not to vote at your concert. You're all over the place, and I think that sometimes ruins the message. The message was good, but it was the messenger that I think that probably was the problem this time.
If you've been a fan of Kanye, his history tells you that when he get riled up and you put a mic in front of his face, words are gonna go all over the wall. They're not shooting straight. They're gonna be they're gonna go all over the place. Then you're gonna have to stop, grab him, collect him, calm him down, and really have a conversation with him to get. That's what they had to do to even get. After the whole slavery was this, and they only take segments out for the shock value. Of course, they take this segment out and break this whole interview up instead of listening to it, in its entirety.
Kanye's Kanye. He's gonna say some stuff, but certain things make sense though.
He's gonna force those little kids that like Kanye West. They're gonna force their parents to now, hey, mom, dad, what was Kanye West talking about? Black people being in slavery for 400 years.
Exactly.
But now that he's put it out there, that high cognition, he's got people talking about it.
Yeah.
They're talking about it in the morning. People call my phone to talk about this and to share their point of view that hadn't called me in a long time. So it's forcing that conversation.
But the problem is, it's not forcing it to be talked about by the people who are the oppressors. When Donald Trump takes the whole thing, when you see Kanye likes me, look how much I've done for you all. That's not the conversation I want to have. I want to have the conversation about how bad slavery is, and my child knows it, and it'll probably we're the talented tenth in this room. But we've had those discussions with our children, and all that. But when Donald Trump takes it, and it backfired on Kanye because he became a pawn for somebody who is not looking out for your little black kid, my little black kid.
I wasn't upset that he was a free thinker. Even he said what he said because he's a grown man. He has a right to say what he wants. What I was upset about was the platform and the responsibility of that platform that you have not to spread shit, for the lack of a better word, out for people to ingest, for people to take in, either through that visually or through, hearing it through their ears. He's a musician. So naturally, if you don't understand the history of music, you know what music is for and what it's about. It's for giving messages out, whether right or wrong messages, it's for that. And it's for to lock. The rhythms are made to lock in your head, so it'll carry it with you in a subconscious way. So the fact that he used his platform to say that in that manner was, I thought it was highly irresponsible.
You watched that whole Charlemagne video. That it was an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. It was almost 2 hours.
Yeah, almost 2 hours.
And you could see him go through the cycles of mental illness, mental health. His mental health is not that. I don't say illness because we all go through grief from either parents dying, somebody dying. Go through grief of divorce. You go through grief. I mean, he mentioned the non-acceptance. Jay-Z and Beyonce didn't come to his wedding. That caused him a lot of pain, and clearly they spent 10 minutes on that. Things like that we don't process, and that we don't go in. As Charlemagne said, he goes every Friday to his therapist, and I think that it undergirds what Kanye is going through. Of course, his mother dying is clearly a big issue.
Has anyone in the room seen the spook who sat by the door?
I didn't know it was a movie. I know it's a book.
It is a book, and it's a movie as well. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, in the movie, basically, there is a black man who infiltrates the system from the inside, right? And everyone is against him, thinking that he's against them, but what he's really doing is he's learned all the government's ways. Basically, the exact same thing that Killmonger did in Black Panther, without all the violence and stuff, and he was actually going back and helping people in the hood. That's what the spook who sat by the door did. So what if, maybe, Kanye is in a sense doing the same thing, sacrificing himself, his fame or whatever you want to call it, or the likes of everybody else, with choosing to come out this way and start this discussion. And the reason why I say that is because at the same time with Kanye saying that people had a choice, I reflect to J. Cole's album. And all throughout J. Cole's new album is saying all of these things that are pain, and pain is a part of life, but you have to choose wisely. So is that in tandem with each other? Like, are they trying to pair together to say, okay, y'all, these are the things that are affecting us. We have a choice of these things. We need to choose wisely.
What's the manifestation of all of this? At some point, I relate back to the tweet where, and he talked in his interview about how hurt he was when President Obama called him a jackass. I get it. I mean, I get it, because he said this is the guy who came to see me and my mother when we were in Chicago and wanted my support. And a lot of people, if you didn't know that backstory, you'd be like, it wasn't all about the Taylor Swift thing. So he had that unprocessed pain there. But when you talk about, Obama's never done anything, this, that, and the other. I saw some of the tweets where people were like, well, you from Chicago. What you done?
Yeah.
And so I think, we got to be very careful about making ourselves martyrs after we've said something that didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what Cap did. That spurred a ripple that's still taking form.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now you got other people filing grievances against the NFL. These people are like really throwing some real support behind him, like sacrificing their own careers. Some of them creating career sabotage in effort to support Kaepernick, because what he did was fulfill the American dream, which is be able to exercise freedom of speech, freedom of demonstration, all the other things that come along with being an American citizen. Yeah. Yet, if it didn't fit the narrative, then you see what's happening to him. So that was just an action of kneeling taking the knee for the national anthem. Who knows what this can cause?
When you have that sort of a platform, there's a shelf life on that. You have a small window, no matter who you are, in order to use it and use it effectively. And I think that the offense came in that, okay, you only have a 5-minute interview. We're only going to run 1 minute of it. And you run off with this tangent about, well, I think that, slavery was a choice. I think people ran with that, and I can get it, because you're sending out a message to those people who aren't going to go and get the whole interview. And there are some people, whether we believe it or not, they will follow their preachers to the death. They will follow some politicians, to their grave. They'll follow, they are not free thinkers. I just think, we've been forced to be put in a situation where we have to be a lot more measured than Kanye, because if we always come out on the gut visceral reaction, a couple of things are going to happen. I think the prime, most recent great example of that are those boys at Starbucks. Yeah. They could have gone off, and it could have ended up very bad, real bad. And I think, and I'm not quite sure, I probably would have gone off. But I looked at that, and I had to step back and say, you know what, that was a great teachable moment. That here it is. They knew they were right. They knew they were going to jail, but they still said, okay, we'll take care of this.
And they settled for an undisclosed amount.
Yeah.
Remember Joe Clark?
Shirt, man.
Y'all remember Joe Clark? When Joe Clark stood up in that meeting and told them parents that they need to get their minds right, get their kids off welfare, it was a Kanye moment then. The whole place disrupted. Not many people understood where it was coming from. But now that we are from where we were when that movie first came out, and looking back, we can say, hey man, I understand what Joe Clark was talking about. We need to actually get ourselves in a position to where our next generation, we're not passing this genetic code of dependence, and get us to have some financial literacy, some financial discipline, and some financial ingenuity so that we can actually plant shade trees that we can enjoy for the next generations to come.
Like I feel like he has good intention, quote unquote, just like Joe Clark did, but the way that it came out was wrong.
Yeah.
You know? And like Mr. Green just said, it's a lot of the things that he's going through that causes that delivery to come out abrupt in a way. I guess maybe I'm an optimist, you know, not just for Kanye, but just in life, period. And there's a hope that something good can come from this. And I think that's what the discussion that needs to be had. What good can come from this discussion that we're having? Of saying, okay, if we didn't have a choice then, well, we damn sure got a choice now. So what are we going to choose to do? How are we going to choose to come together? How are we going to choose to start making these situations that we don't like, that we're talking about being the only person in the room, how do we make these situations better for ourselves?
Like, we don't do this. Like, how many people you can think that you call up right now, man, if you would have came here, this, that, and third, like, we don't do this enough. And I think that's a big thing in our black community. That's a problem.
It's taboo.
We don't talk about the problem, we talk about the issues.
Nobody wants to deal with the fallback from. Nobody wants to create career sabotage. Or, man, I work for this person, I don't want them to really see how I act. Well, that's a choice.
You know, it's interesting. We look at, you know, where people are, and I tell people, you have to meet people where they are. You know, we can't expect everybody to say, you know, okay, today we're going to mentor at the church from 12 to 6. Come on over here if you want to learn how to be a better parent. No, we got to go and roll up sleeves and get into the hood and get into these apartments. And you know, and for some people that's uncomfortable. But I think you got to get out of the comfort zone, because once again, in this room, I would wager to say most of our kids are going to be okay. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, the person waiting on you at some restaurant is not your kid. You know, that's person, you don't know what you're gonna get. You say the wrong thing to somebody at the gas station, you know, you bump into them. You know, I would probably say most of us won't shoot somebody for stepping on their foot. You know, but that could be a whole nother conversation somewhere else. That could be a whole nother conversation. And it's not really a foreign concept if you look at, you know, if your daddy shot somebody for stepping on his shoes, and your mama, you know, stabbing people for, you know, looking at her wrong or whatever.
You pass it down. Yeah. That's what we talked about. That's what we talked about a second ago. When you've been taught a certain way, we can only parent to the degree that we've been parented. Unless you break that cycle, you being the first to go to college, it's a choice. It's still down to choice.
Absolutely.
If you want,
come up a certain age.
when you look at diet, right? You change your diet. The reason why diabetes and all of that stuff seems like it's hereditary is because we pass down our eating habits to the next generation. So if you were brought up eating nothing but foods that's high in salt, cholesterol, and all that, then you're gonna have the diseases that's gonna happen, that's gonna be associated with that. Unless you choose to say, hey,
from slavery.
Mama, you making pork chops tonight?
Right.
What we call soul food is literally stuff that they took from.
But even
taking your soul.
even with those things though, even with those things, they did it with balance. They did it with moderation. Those people lived for a long time. They had access to better food.
Well, there wasn't so many carcinogens in the meat.
Well, that's just what I'm saying.
The way that they treat our food now is not how they treated the food back then. Matter of fact, we were actually raising the food and the meats then.
But
now they're doing it now.
What made you make a choice at this stage in your life?
I watched a documentary called What the Health.
Okay.
And specifically there was, I wish I remembered his name, but there's a black doctor in that documentary that says, you know, some of the strongest people, some of the strongest animals don't even eat meat.
No, they don't.
But we were taught, like, even my own mother, you know, she says it ain't no meal if it ain't no meat in it. Okay, but so many people in our family, high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, you know, heart attacks, all of that comes from the things that they're putting in our foods now, because everything is so factory based, and these chickens and these cows and these pigs, all in these bad areas, and they're eating their own poop, and just it's so much crap in it now that wasn't in it before.
But my thing is, you made a choice.
Only because I saw.
But you was exposed to it.
Right.
All these things were already out there. Mm-hmm. Only thing that movie did for it was it collapsed it into a way that you could digest it a lot quicker.
And I think that's what's important about the fact that Kanye is using his platform.
The black celebrity is important because it goes a long way. If you that's the reason why our kids, if they're raised on television, or if you're raised only seeing, and that's how come everybody praised Barack Obama, no matter what you think his political stances are on different things, it meant so much is because you finally saw a black family in the White House who did great. Like, you know, somebody who's Ivy League educated, and his wife is Ivy League educated. No scandals. His daughters lived out their lives like nothing controversial about them and whatsoever. And that's the point in, like, just like the importance of any time of like even everyone in this room, like when you make it to that certain point, you have to reach back. And that's the thing about it, is that a lot of us who make it, we're fighting against that whole mentality of individualization. It's my dream, and I'm not reaching back to help anybody else. And sometimes we can't have, as black people, we can't do that.